Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
Hey, all you Minties! Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for my overview of all these books from Dark Horse Comics that have come out recently. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to the folks at Dark Horse for sending us copies of these particular titles. And as always, if you're interested in just a few, if you're not interested in all of them or checking them out, I do leave timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around. And we've got a lot of books to talk about today. But before I go any further, please smash that like button. That goes a long way for us here on the channel. Very small thing you can do, but it means the world to us. Alright, we got a lot to talk about, so this is going to be a quick overview. Rapid fire, baby, rapid fire. We'll see how well I do with rapid fire. I'm filming this before I actually go through the books. But rapid fire, let's give it a shot. Alright, let's kick it off with the alternates. From the world of minor threats, here comes the alternates. And this makes for a really interesting story I was not expecting from Patton Oswalt, but also, of course, Tim Seeley and Jordan Bloom, Christopher Mitten, Tess Fowler. So here's how it's broken down. Sorry, I forgot to show the title page there. The Alternatives Volume 1, Patton Oswalt, Jordan Bloom, Tim Seeley are the scriptwriters. The main story artist, Christopher Mitten. And then Ian Herring does the main story colors, while Tess Fowler does the flashbacks. And there are a lot of flashbacks. Nate Piekos doing the lettering here. Love this cover. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Sean Murphy's artwork. So what exactly is this about? If you haven't read The Minor Threats, do you have to have read it to enjoy this? No, not at all. Because that's that superhero series that was created by Patton Oswalt and Scott Hepburn and also Jordan Bloom. So this is a series of the underdogs from that particular world. So you have Mary, which is right here at the very beginning. She is the multi-monster character. Then you have Crab Louie, Kid Curious, Persona, and the Tripper. And what's happening is that they're all meeting to talk about the experiences that they've had in this other world and how important each of them felt in this particular other world and how they wish they could return back to this other dimension, because 5 years have passed and now they're trying to go on about their lives in this world. So 5 years in that other dimension has changed them into different people. And it makes for a really interesting story. It's like, what if you were living a better life? What if you had more control? What if your love life was better in this other dimension? Wouldn't you want to go back? Sorry, I had to skip some pages there because of, you all know what happens if I have that up for too long. So there are a lot of questions you'll be asking yourself here through these characters, and a lot of things that happen when some of these characters decide, hey, I think we need to go back to that world. It makes for an interesting story. This collects the 4-issue miniseries, and it has 136 pages, retailing for $19.99. And I realize I just looked at the stack of books. That's a lot of books, so let's cut these particular overviews a little bit shorter. So I'm going to give you a faster pitch. You have Kid Curious back there, some sketches. I know you have, there we go. You do have the characters here, the Ledgerstone, the Persona. Ledgerstone doesn't really play an important part until a little bit later. But that is the alternates. Tear Us Apart. I love that cover. And spine, and then the back of the book. So this collects the 4-issue miniseries, and it has 120 pages, retailing for $19.95. Jay Baruchel and Van Jensen are the writers, and then Alessandro Micheli doing the art, and lettering by Taylor Esposito. So this is all set in, well, it's set in Canada, but in a alternate reality, or maybe a possible future, where you have a cult that is just dedicating themselves to pain and fighting and training children to become assassins. Now, we've seen that before. There's a lot of blood and gore in this one, by the way. We've seen that before in Deadly Class, right? We've seen that concept before. But this one's a little bit different because it turns out that a couple of these kids are in love with each other. So that is breaking the big rule that this particular cult has, not to fall in love. So now these kids with no names, by the way, just numbers, have to break away from this cult to try to make it in this world. And the more you read about this particular world, the world building is really cool in this, and I wish there was a lot more. The more you find out that they're probably not the only two people that have broken apart from this tribe, that maybe in the past a couple of other people have gotten away. And if they did, how did they manage to survive? Because now they have a bunch of assassin kids that are coming after them, because you can't just escape this kind of life. So do they make it out? Is there a happy ending? What ends up happening to these characters? Do they get any help? Well, you can find out by reading the book. I love the different color tones that this uses. So it does have minimal color tones, obviously focusing on the red, making it really stand out. And in the back, you do have some concept art, as well as the layouts for some of the internal pages. And that is Tear Us Apart. Masters of the Universe, Forge of Destiny. It's another book by Tim Seeley. Here's the spine and then the back of the book. We'll be looking at all the spines together soon. But this collects the Masters of the Universe, Forge of Destiny, 1 through 4. Has 104 pages, and this particular book retails for $17.99. Or no, I'm sorry, no, this one's $19.99. And it is written by Tim Seeley, Eddie Nunez doing the art, colors by Brad Simpson, and World Design doing the lettering. This is the, I guess it's He-Man Year 1? Maybe we can call it that? So it is Prince Adam that has just gotten his powers to turn into He-Man and learning how to use it. And of course, hiding the mystery of who he is from his friends and family. And, it's things that I guess, well, based on the character designs, you could probably think that, all right, well, this is set in the world of the new Masters of the Universe, if you can say that, or the mid-90s cartoon. Just based on the designs, I would say this is, could be set in the world of Masters of, or He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the 80s series. And, of course, the new cartoon by Kevin Smith. Because there's a little bit of a mixed bag of both of them in here. But it is interesting to see just how Prince Adam isn't used to being He-Man through these particular issues and the way he talks. So, I grew up with the cartoon. So, of course, to me, it was always Prince Adam, secret, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power, and He-Man. There wasn't really an origin, this is how it happened, and this is how hard it was for him to become He-Man, and how he had to lie his way around here. A couple of other characters that appear through here from both the toy line and the cartoon line, so I don't want to spoil exactly who appears through these pages. In the back is where you're going to find the covers and the variant covers. And then the sketchbook right here. And, this is going from pencils to inks to colors. 104 pages, $19.99. Shook, a black horror anthology. This is exactly what it states that it is. It is an anthology of horror stories told by black creators. So you have people in here like Rodney Barnes and John Jennings and David Walker. As a matter of fact, here they all are. And you do have different artists in here, and colors and lettering by different folks. 192 pages, $24.99. This is an anthology of different horror stories. And some of them are based on actual lores. Some of them are to teach lessons. Some of them are in black and white. Some of them are in color. Some of them are very much like some of the books we're going to be looking at here in a little bit, where they're there to teach a lesson. You do something bad happens to you. You get your comeuppance. Some of them are a mystery. There's not really a continuing overall arc, but it does. I love stories like this. I love anthologies because if I don't like one of the stories, doesn't mean the rest of the book is going to suck. I'll just move on to the next story. And there were some really great stories in here. There's sci-fi. There's definitely fantasy elements in these. And one of them, actually, I believe it's this one. Is this Kevin Gravel? He's the guy that did the Underworld. Yeah, this is it. Ezra the Hunter by Kevin Gravel. He's the gentleman that did the Underworld movies, but also the much underrated New Warriors comics. So that is his character, Ezra the Hunter. And this is the type of artwork you're going to be seeing through these very pages. So, an anthology, a horror anthology at that, with lots of gore and lots of blood. 192 pages, $24.99. Takio by Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Oeming. Two gentlemen that have been working together for a long time. Now, this is the latest printing, and of course, by Dark Horse Comics. And, they've worked on Powers, they've worked at Marvel Comics, but this is a lot different. This is an all-ages book. As a matter of fact, this one here is really charming. I've never read Takio. For as long as it's been around and been published, I never got around to reading it. This collects the graphic novel and the 4-issue miniseries. So you have Brian Michael Bendis, Michael Avon Oeming, and Olivia Bendis. Adorable colors by Nick Filardi, and then lettering by Chris Alepolis. So this is the story of Taki and her younger sister, Olivia. And they're just normal kids. She's 13, and I think she's 8 years old. And this is Susie, who is Taki's friend. Now, she's going to play a big part in this story. Normal kids going to school. It reminds me a lot of the relationship between my two little girls. Gosh, but now both of them are going to be teenagers this year. Anyway, Sue's dad, this guy right here, some kind of mad scientist. Doesn't really matter. He's making something, and it goes wrong. So when Taki and Olivia go to her house to check on how she's doing, she's arguing with her dad, something goes wrong with this science experiment, and it blows up the house. And what it ends up doing is giving these girls powers. So they are the world's first superheroes. And the way they handle it is completely adorable and completely the way a kid would handle it, especially the youngest one, Olivia. So at the end of the first story arc is where they end up coming up with the name and the costumes, because they're going to be superheroes. That's what Olivia wants. Now, Sue and her father, though, know that whatever experiment he was working on is what caused this effect. It's what caused them to be superheroes. So she kind of turns on them and becomes a supervillain. Maybe. Will she ever see the light? Will they? There's a really cute issue in here where there's a flashback as to how the two of them became friends and how close they were and how this has drifted them apart. And can they hide their superhero identities from their parents? This issue right here is adorable. All right, in the back, you're going to get some layouts, you're going to get some sketches and character designs, 216 pages, and this particular version retailing for $19.99. And there's Bendis with a cosplayer, somebody cosplaying Taki. And that is Takio. Night at the Belfry. And this is an original Comixology book now that Dark Horse is printing in a graphic novel format. So this is by Xavier Sazon, and the book retails for $22.88, and it has 124 pages, and edited by Allison O'Toole. I give one book the seal of approval every month, or every time I do these overviews with a lot of books. This time it was really difficult because there's a lot of good books. I absolutely love this book. This definitely would have been on my list if I had not read something, and I'll talk about here in a little bit. But let's focus on the greatness that is this. This one does have a little bit of mature themes, and that's mainly due to the language. But we meet this older gentleman. This is James Ransom, who's an older guy who daydreams about knocking out this thug that's trying to steal something from him with a knife. And he can't. He just gives his wallet up. So as you learn, the more you flip through here and read the story, he used to be a boxer, but he's 74 now. And he was at the peak of his career in the 80s. This is his daughter Emily, who's finding it harder and harder for him to take care of himself, and she can't take care of her and him at the same time. So, for some reason, he decides he wants to reconnect with his old trainer. And it is an awesome reason why, though. I don't want to spoil what happens that makes him go and see his old trainer. And what he wants to do is start becoming a boxer again and boxing at the age of 74. Now, his doctor and his wife are like, no, don't do this, Dad. There is a twist as to why there's a reason why he wants to box and why it's called Night at the Belfry. And I don't want to give away that twist, but I will say it does. Damn it gives away what happens, but I feel like I have to talk about the reason why. And so if you don't want to know anything about this and you want to move on, just skip the rest of this part of the video and move on to the next book, which is the Midnite Show. But he wants to die boxing. So he wants his trainer to get these boxers to box with him atop of this bell tower that is the Belfry, this church. And that it means something to him because he wants to leave this legacy behind. He wants to leave his daughter something, and he's willing to pay money for this to happen. And it's a hard read, right? Like you have parents that age, and he still feels like he's young enough to do something about his life. So I really like this one, but like I said, it's got this whole topic of almost like suicide because he knows that one of these boxers is going to take him out, and he wants one of these boxers to kill him and to leave his daughter money. Oh man, it's a dark and beautiful story. I really enjoyed this. But yeah, completely understand, if you want to stay away from books that focus on things like that, like self-harm and suicide, this does have a little bit of that to it. Does it have a happy ending? I will say it does have a nice ending. I really like the ending here. But that is Night at the Belfry. The Midnite Show by Cullen Bunn and Brian Hurt and Bill Crabtree. Your spine and then the back of the book. This collects the Midnite Show issues 1 through 4. And this makes for a really interesting concept. I love that Cullen Bunn just pumps these out left and right. So this is the story of this director named Basil Zaxxon, or Zazon, maybe. And 50 years ago, in the making of his movie, I love the way that this is colored, by the way, he disappeared. This movie burnt down, they never finished it, and then there's a screening of Basil Zazzon's film festival featuring God of Monsters, which was his unfinished movie. He's gone. Something happened to him. Now, during this screening, we're going to meet some characters here that will become our protagonists. Because what ends up happening is that these creatures start coming out of the film and attacking these kids and this nearby town. And this film, this God of Monsters, maybe was cursed. It was never supposed to be completed. And maybe this is the reason why. So our group of protagonists are now going to have to team up together to fight off against these real monsters. And then also ask the question, what happened? It's a lot of grotesque stuff through here, by the way. What happened to Basil Zaxxon? If he disappeared, where did he go? Well, one way to find out. This was a lot of fun. Like, yes, if you're not into horror, into grotesque stuff or gore, this is not for you. But if you like a little slapstick with your horror, this is solid. This is great. So we're looking at some of the variant covers all the way in the back. Kelly Jones. And then drawing on your nightmares there. Other books by Dark Horse Comics. 112 pages, $19.99. And now it is that part of the video where we look at all of the spines of these particular books from Dark Horse Comics. And also a reminder to smash that like button, please. And if you're enjoying the content of our videos, please think about subscribing if you haven't subscribed yet. Alright, let's continue with the overviews. The World of Black Hammer Omnibus Volume 3. Now, this is a paperback version, and there was the World of Black Hammer Library Edition. It has the exact same content as that. It is 248 pages. However, this is $29.99, whereas the World of Black Hammer Library Editions were $44, or no, they were $49.99. So in here, you are going to have one of the greatest stories collected, and that is the Colonel Weird Cosmogog. And then you also have Barba Alien Red Planet right there. So you have Jeff Lemire and then Tyler Crook drawing that, and Tate Brombell doing the script, but Jeff Lemire and Tate Brombell doing the story, while Gabriel Hernandez Walta doing the art for that particular Red Planet story. This Cosmogog story will rip your heart out and crush it if you've never read it. And I mean, it's up there as one of the saddest stories from Jeff Lemire. And if you know anything about Jeff Lemire, he loves pulling on those heartstrings. And this is no different, but I think he does a holy crap. I can't believe I can't stop crying moment in here. These are characters that, of course, are from Black Hammer, and this is their side story. So I'm going to skip a little bit so you can see some of this Red Planet artwork here by Walta. This is the same gentleman that worked on the Vision maxi series with Tom King. I've done an overview of this before if you want to know my exact thoughts, so we can keep moving with the other books that you may not have seen. But in the back, you do have the exact same extras that the library editions have, like concept sketches and layouts and original art. And then your afterword there. But that is Black Hammer, Volume 3, or The World of Black Hammer Omnibus Volume 3. Barnstormers by Tula Lotay and Scott Snyder, A Ballad of Love and Murder. This is an original Comixology, and now it's printed in a trade paperback version for $24.99. It has 142 pages. I love the artwork in here. Did it win an award? Maybe it won an award. I love Tula's artwork. It is phenomenal. I love the fact that, she takes top billing over here. Very nice. But it is Scott Snyder, and artist Tula Lotay. D. Cunniffe is the colorist, and then Richard Starkings is the lettering. This book is awesome. It kind of reminded me a little bit of The Rocketeer, because it's set in this era, the 1920s, and it explains what barnstorming is. And we meet this old pilot. This is Hawk Baron, but is that his real name? Anyway, he used to be a pilot during the war. And as a matter of fact, when he's flirting with this young lady right here, he starts seeing this demon robot creature in the forest. It's like he's trying to run away from his demons, but now he is a pilot during this barnstorming era of 1923. So he's trying to get away from his demons by maybe flying away. But he interrupts this wedding because he loses control of his aircraft. And when he lands, the groom-to-be is like, hey, man, what the hell is wrong with you? So they get into a little bit of a scuffle here. And this is when he opens his eyes to Tilly. And Tilly will come to play a big part in the story after he's thrown in jail. She breaks him out of jail and says she wants him to take him somewhere. So the two of them escape. Now, she doesn't want to get married, and you can find out why she doesn't want to get married to that guy. And what ends up happening is that they are framed for murder. And now they have to escape not only that past life of his that he's running or flying away from, rather, but also hers. And yes, the whole barnstorming thing plays a big part in here. And it is a beautiful love story. I mean, this art is absolutely stunning. I love the artwork. That's kind of big sell on this one for me. In the back, you do get some, I guess, Comixology covers here. And just gorgeous color tones that they use. But this one is printed differently. It's printed in this really thick, glossy paper stock. Like, really thick, glossy paper. And even the build of the the soft cover feels a little bit different than that of the other soft covers I've talked about. Grendel Omnibus Volume 5. Now, this one is a very, very interesting omnibus. This is Matt Wagner's Grendel Volume 5. Grendel Tales. So it's interesting because, I'm used to Matt Wagner writing the stories of all of Grendel's adventures, but this one is different because it contains stories from other people. You have other creators through here, and they're credited as the very beginning here. This is Devil Worship by Matt Wagner, and it's written by Steve Siegel, and Hoche Anderson is the artist on this one. So this collects a short story from Grendel 40, 4 Devils, 1 Hell, 1 through 6. It also collects Devil's Hammer 1 through 3, The Devil in Our Midst 1 through 5, and Devils and Deaths 1 and 2. This has 432 pages and retails for $29.99. And it is definitely a different collection because these are stories told through different times in Grendel's life. But if you've read the original Matt Wagner Grendel, you know that there have been different Grendels. As a matter of fact, some of the stories start off, interesting enough, with like a body of a past Grendel that if you've been reading Grendel in omnibus format, you're like, wait, that character's still alive. How did this happen? Devil in Our Midst is really interesting, but it's kind of like John Carpenter's The Thing. That's what it feels like. But this is another Steve Siegel and Paul Grist piece right here. And Grist has a very unique art style. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Giffen's, like when he was doing some of the Legion of Superheroes and then eventually Trench, or was it Trencher, I think it was called. But each one has a unique story and feel to it. This is Devils and Deaths, and this is by Darko McCann and Edvin Bjokovic, and this is the best story in this collection. And it's sad that we lost Edvin at such a young age. He was only 30 when he passed away of cancer. And, to this day, like, I think is it Gerard? No, it is Gerard Way that talks about how he was an inspiration to his art style. But this one is a very interesting one because it's about a guy that ends up getting this virus and deals with fighting in this gang, and of course he's got this knowledge that his life is going to end soon, but it ties it back to Grendel, and the artwork is just awesome. And then that's kind of what wraps up this particular omnibus. I assume the second omnibus will have the other Grendel Tales. I'm not sure, but this one, it felt interesting because we have some ups and downs through here, but it ends strong. I really like that last story. But that is Grendel Omnibus Volume 5. And again, this book has 432 pages and retails for $29.99. Fritz Lieber's Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser Omnibus. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that this gets my seal of approval. This book blew me away. I cannot believe I've never read this. Of all my pre-Hellboy stuff, this is my favorite. Mike Mignola. $29.99, and this collects the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser and the Cloud of Hate and Other Stories, 320 pages. This was originally published at Marvel Comics in their Epic line, and there is an actual wonderful introduction explaining everything by Howard Chaykin here, talking about how he always wanted to do sword and sorcery, but he wanted to do something a little bit different that just wasn't Conan, even though he got the chance to work on Conan. And then, of course, teaming up with the legendary Mike Mignola on this. Oh, with the freaking inks by Al Williamson, this is amazing. I will say the only negative, and it's not even a bad thing, really, is that I wish this had been a hardcover. Holy crap, an oversized hardcover of this art style would have been amazing. I would have taken like a Baltimore size or BPRD hardcover. This was beautiful. Like, just seeing Al Williamson's inks on Mike Mignola. And I know they don't do the whole thing, but they do a lot of it. And it's Mike Mignola pre-Hellboy. It's Mike Mignola before he blew up. And it's amazing how the stories came together. So I'm going to explain what the first story is about to kind of give you the pitch for what this is. Ill met in Lankmar. So we meet two characters by happenstance that are just meeting each other for the first time, but they become instant friends, and that's Fafhrd and Grey Mouser. So Fafhrd's this big guy, red hair, and then you have Grey Mouser. Now this is based on a series of books, and they each introduce each other to their significant others here. Now what ends up happening is that they're thieves and they end up robbing the wrong folks. The wrong folks end up taking revenge on both of these with a necromancer. So you have that sword and sorcery element to this. And what happens is their significant others get killed, and they get killed brutally. So when they come home one night, they see that they have been just slaughtered, and they get their revenge. And that's kind of what sets them off on this adventure of just these two friends that are going from town to town because they want to leave this city because there's nothing here for them anymore. So it opens up the series of just different adventures that they get into with, other swordsmen. And of course, I mentioned wizards and necromancers. Are they called dragons? I think they're called something, flagons, maybe? Regardless, this was an amazing story. And I didn't expect it to be so good. Because it's different than the world of Robert E. Howard's Conan, or for me, really, Roy Thomas' Conan, because it doesn't take itself seriously. Even through all of the horrible things I just said, that their significant others get killed, there's a lot of humor in here. Even in the dialogue that they speak, there's a lot of humor. And I really enjoy that about this. It's sword and sorcery, but also some just comedy in there that I don't see a lot of. It doesn't take itself seriously like Conan the Barbarian, which I love. I absolutely love. So this was nice. The DC stuff is also printed in here. So this one, for example, is by Dennis O'Neil and Howard Chaykin doing the artwork. So it looks a little bit different than the Mignola stuff. You do have some art in here by Walter Simonson later on, too. So you get everything that they've printed in comic book format. Now, I've never read the books. As a matter of fact, the first time I heard about the books was just years ago. I think it was one of the introductions in those Conan Omnis talking about this series. So I'm not sure if this follows the books to a T, like if it follows it exactly the way the book was written, or if it takes a lot of liberties. And here's the covers with, again, beautiful art by Mike Mignola. I didn't give credit. I should definitely give credit to the colors here, because I feel like the colorist does a lot. Yes, right here, Sherlin Van Valkenburg. Colors are just amazing throughout the whole book, and on the covers there. And then you get the covers of Sword and Sorcery. These are the DC books. Of course, they've taken the logo out and the logo of Epic off of those. I think, the only thing that would have just made this one of my favorite releases this year would have been like an oversized hardcover format of these just wonderful pages. I really love this era of Mike Mignola and Al Williamson, Jungle Adventure and all that. But absolutely, go and check this out. It is surprisingly still in print. It came out early this year. It's beautiful. All right, we gotta do a really quick rapid fire review here. But these are amongst the best books in the entire stack right here. Books from the 50s. And here we have EC's Weird Science, Volume 3. This is the trade paperback version for $19.99. This one has 216 pages. And it does tell you exactly what it collects all the way in the back here. So it does collect issues 13 through 18 of Weird Science. Again, with these new colors that they've been using, you do have a forward. There's the Grant Geisman intro, but you do have a new forward by Jerry Weist right there. And this is the type of art you're going to be seeing through these particular issues. This has come out in a series of hardcovers, but Dark Horse is now reprinting these in trade paperbacks, along with the rest of the books. This is Crime Suspense Stories, and these are a lot cheaper than the hardcovers, too, because the hardcovers are $49.99. These are $19.99. This is Volume 1, collecting the first 6 issues of Crime Suspense Stories. Max Allan Collins, that's right, mystery writer Max Allan Collins does the forward here. Again, some of the best freaking stories ever in comics. Johnny Craig, Graham Ingalls, William Gaines, Al Feldstein, just to name a few of these wonderful creators on the book. And all the ads and everything are throughout the entirety of the book. Then, of course, you do have like a lot of the ads that came out during this particular time throughout the books. And the last one we're going to look at is Vault of Horror, which is my personal favorite because I just big fan of the Tales from the Crypt or Haunt of Fear, and of course Vault of Horror. This time around we're collecting issues 30 through 35 of Vault of Horror, and some more goodness by Jack Davis and Johnny Craig. Jonathan Mayberry doing the intro to forward for this one here. And just taking a look at the artwork, this one has 216 pages. There is a Ray Bradbury adaptation. It's awesome. A Ray Bradbury adaptation in this one from The Lake. So that one is adapted by, I believe, Joe Orlando, if I'm not mistaken. No, it is Joe Orlando. Maybe Al Feldstein helped him out. Maybe I'll do a big overview of all these EC books so I can pay more time to them as they rightly deserve, because they are amazing stories. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these collections. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you picked up, which ones you're picking up, which ones you didn't even know existed until you watched the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Everybody, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.